Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of Los Angeles. And in today's episode, we will move on from Venice Beach and I'll start to build out the wider Venice area, including the iconic and stunning Venice Canals. I will also be doubling the size of the city and population with new residential and commercial areas, finally getting my hands on the road builder mods. Yeah, I'm a bit late to the party with that one, right? Along with a few cool builds, such as the Venice Library and a local baseball field. I've also built a home for an absolute heckin' legend in our community, someone who you all know, someone who used to live in Venice. Plus I also have a new mod and an update to Tree Controller to tell you about. And of course, some new decal and surface packs, which are out now on PDX Mods. These new packs have also been the subject of a community detailing challenge we've hosted recently on Discord. I will feature this challenge later in the episode and announce the winners. And before we get started, a friendly reminder that if you enjoy the video, please consider liking and commenting. This really does help with the algorithm. And if you enjoy what I do, you can also support me over on Patreon or by becoming a channel member here on YouTube. So remember, back in episode 3, I introduced you to my ploppable citizen packs. Well, I mentioned at the time I really wanted these not just to be ploppable, but actual citizens, ones who walk around my city and go about their daily lives. So for the past few weeks I have been working with the modder StarQ, and I'm pleased to say thanks to his new mod Citizen Model Manager, we're now able to switch out any existing vanilla character set for any community made citizen packs. So once you're subscribed to the mod, you can go to the options menu and find the Citizen Model Manager mod. It's all pretty simple here, but you'll find drop downs for each character group. So you just choose the one you want to replace, open up the drop down, and here you'll find all the possible citizen packs. So for LA, I have created a unique citizen pack of 100 adult males and females. So it's easy just to switch out the character sets and hit apply. And you'll notice the citizens will update instantly in the game, so there's no need to reload the game or anything like that. And there we have it, super simple. I now have my own custom characters walking around LA. And they look so good too, so much more fitting than the vanilla citizens. But of course, I am able to switch these out for any citizen pack I want. Just for a bit of fun. I do have a pack with one male and one female in, so this is my news anchor and reporter you've seen in previous episodes. So if I just switch all of the adults to them, and just for laugh, we'll change the elderly, teen and children to motorbike group, why not? And here we go, now you'll see all the adults being just these characters, and all the elderlies and teens just wearing helmets. It looks ridiculous, but this is just to show the type of stuff you can do. And I think in time, as more citizen packs are created, we will see some really cool stuff possible with this mod. So some of you may want to create your own citizens. So in the next few weeks, I do plan on releasing a video to show you the whole process on how to create your own. Of course, it's important to understand that none of this is officially supported. This is using the beta version of the editor. So StarQ's new mod, Citizen Model Manager, is available right now on PDX Mods, so please go and get that. Also make sure you give StarQ a like and follow while you're there. You'll also find my first 4 citizen packs on PDX Mods, so go and grab them also. These packs allow both citizens and ploppable versions. Okay, so next up I'm going to tell you about a new update coming to Tree Controller. I'm going to fix something which honestly has been doing my head in for such a long time now. And I believe this actually existed back in the Thunderstore days, but until now it hadn't made it to PDX Mods. Now I don't know how many of you have even noticed, but honestly when I watch some of my videos back it's often all I can see. But why on earth does it look like all of my trees are dancing? Like, look at that tree sway, it's just insane. And I just find it so distracting and it spoils some of my cinematics for me. But no longer. Because now I can just go into the options and I can disable tree sway. There are of course a bunch of options here, so if you wanted just to slow down the tree sway, or heck even for a laugh max it out, you could do that. You're also able to disable the tree sway whilst on pause. So have a play, find the settings you want to use, but for me I'm just going to disable it completely. And just like that, a massive issue of mine has been solved. So many thanks to YenYang and Brucey Boy for all of their work. Cool, so before we get started on today's build, I just want to check in with our first followed citizen in the city, Jeanette Morgan. Oh look, she is back up on her feet now, following the car crash back in episode 1. You know, I can see you're still homeless still, unfortunately. But Janet Pearson, oh man. So you've been married and divorced, not once, but twice in these last few months. So you definitely have been busy, it seems. But you know, at least you are back up on your feet now. Although time will tell if you ever manage to leave this spot. Okay, so for the first build of the episode, we're going to get started on the iconic Venice Canals. Now these canals were originally built in 1905 as a recreation of Venice in Italy. The canals were originally very desirable, but by the 1920s, with cars quickly gaining popularity, they were viewed as outdated. And by the 1940s, the canals fell into disrepair and were condemned by the city. For many decades, the district remained in quite a poor condition before finally being renovated in the 90s. Nowadays, they're once again a desirable and expensive residential neighbourhood and a hotspot for tourism in the area. The canals were also made famous due to their inclusion in GTA 5 and were known as the Vespucci Canals. So let's start to build it out. Of course, I've got the image overlay mod to assist me with the size and the shape of the canals. There were 3 islands in between the canals in real life, but for our version, I'm going to make it slightly smaller with just the 2 islands. Now finally, I am also getting my hands on the Road Builder mod, so many months after release. But of course, you know, the Venice Beach build has been my priority recently. I don't think there was much need to integrate the Road Builder mod into that part of the city. But we will be keeping it pretty simple, mainly adding in some roads with integrated parking on the sides. Rather than making these myself, I'm just finding them within the library which comes with the mod. These roads will give residents somewhere to park. Now for the canals, we're going to be using some new assembly assets, once again created by the legend Harbourmaster Jay, who's created a whole bunch of variations with different hedges and trims, along with some floating pontoons and very cool pedestrian bridges. Once again, great work by Jay on all of these, and they are available as a local install on my Discord. Okay, so making these canals, it is going to be a bit tricky. There is a few different ways to go about it, but I ended up going into the editor in order to create a new asset. So for those of you who played CS1, you might remember we had assets called terraforming networks and terrain flatteners. We'd often use these to manipulate the terrain in very specific ways, so I thought I'd try and create one for CS2 by removing the mesh from the road networks, so they are essentially invisible networks. Now this asset certainly isn't perfect. Honestly, I don't think I plan on releasing them quite in this format. Likely, there's going to be a better implementation of these assets in future. Before this build, and I think as a proof of concept, they will do the job for this. But it is quite simple. I draw out the networks in the correct position, and once done, I can select the nodes, move it, and lower them into the ground, and the terrain will just follow the networks. So once done, I add in all the canal props along the edges of the canals using the line tool. Now I just want to get the sizing right before going too far, so I do temporarily add in pedestrian bridges just to see how much width I need for the canals, and I'll just do a bit of tweaking to get them all in the right position. So once the main canals are in, I can start to add in the residential homes, and we're going to use the beach properties for this area. Now the beach properties homes will also make the canals feel unique compared to the other surrounding neighbourhoods, which I've used mostly vanilla, low density and row homes. Okay, so we've got a bunch of it built out now, and I think we're going on the right track, so it's time to get the water in. Again, this took a little bit to figure out. My original thought was I just let the seawater kind of funnel in up to the canals, but it turns out, the water won't reach quite far enough without making the canals too deep. So I'm going to need to use the water feature mod to add in some new water sources, and there's two options we could use: streams or lakes. Well, I say two, as it turns out the stream one just won't work, it just floods the area. I kind of think these need to be placed on like higher terrain and then flow them down the hill. So I guess we are just going to use the lake's water source. Now what I found, at least at first, is the water sources eventually seemed to dry up. Now I don't know if it was something to do with me using the terraforming networks, or perhaps it was because I needed the smallest radiuses to fit in the size of the canals. What I ended up doing is adding a whole bunch of these every few meters or so all along the canal. This did seem to help stabilise the water level. Occasionally some parts did empty at first, but over time just raising the level and the height of some of these water sources. And now a bit of time later, the water level is mostly stable for the majority of the canals. So next up, I'm going to add in some more detailing. We're going to add in a bunch of surfaces like my riverbed textures and the Real Vision decals by Static Noise. We also add in some basic props, benches, trash bins, lampposts and foliage to decorate. I'll also add in a bunch of Jay's floating pontoons to the canals and some of my new ploppable citizens. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now with a detailing time-lapse as I complete the rest of the canals. It's mostly similar steps now, adding in the rest of their homes and detailing around the area, and I'll catch you all again in a few minutes. Okay, so the canals are pretty much done now, and they're looking so good. So for the last detail, I want to add in some of my new assets, Manicured Grass decals and surfaces, and they come in a variety of different pattern styles. Now you might find the pattern may fade in and out depending on a few factors, such as the position and angle of the camera and the time of the day. This is because the pattern is created by the normal map, so to make them appear more prominent, you just need to adjust either the camera angle or the position of the sun. They're also semi-transparent. This is to help blend them in with different map themes and colours of different terrains. So these are available right now on PDX Mods, so please go check them out. I'll now add in a bunch of these to the homes around the canals. Of course, this is a very wealthy neighbourhood, and they'll fit in great, and make some of these gardens really pop out. I guess in contrast to all of those immaculate lawns, this area on the edge of the canals will be quite dirty and overgrown. I'm going to use a new technique I learned through a content creator, Red Kool-Aid. Shout out to him. If you haven't watched his stuff, you really should. Absolutely killing it right now. So to recreate the dry grass, he's been changing the age of these blue bushes to their dead tree model. It makes them this dark brown colour, and it looks so good. So I'm going to add in a bunch of these to the riverbed, along with the Real Vision decals, and just make the area feel, quite dry, a bit run down. Cool, so moving on, I've decided it's time to fix all of these notifications. I think it's fair to say I've got into a bit of a mess here, haven't I? Originally, I thought a few of these wouldn't have minded, but as the build went on, it's just far too many. Now I probably should have used these originally, but I've just downloaded another pack by StarQ, which is all of the vanilla buildings as non-functional assets, so it's just the mesh. These will help me fix the majority of the notifications, so these are all mainly just because I've been combining multiple buildings together, overlapping buildings. So I'll just go through them one at a time, replacing what I can, just to remove all of the notifications. You can see already, this is making a big difference, surprisingly easier than I thought. I've pretty much managed to get rid of all of them so far. I thought maybe there would be a few remaining. Man, I should have just done this at the start, really. And there we have it, I really didn't think it was possible. So that's pretty much every single notification removed now, which is pretty mad. I didn't think it was possible. Okay, so moving on. So most of these neighbourhoods here, they're all pretty generic, more like background filler, and I'm okay with that. Not every part of the city can be super detailed if we're going to make any progress. But I would like to add in at least a small point of interest here and a new followed citizen into our city. So when Ellie, episode 1 was released, I had a comment from an absolute heckin' legend in this community, City Planner Plays. He said he used to live in this area many years ago. I had no idea he did. That's pretty cool. And I actually did get to spend a little bit of time with City Planner whilst we were in Finland. He is just the nicest guy. So I'd like to add City Planner to our city and give him a beautiful family home here in Venice. I'm thinking, classic American dream style home, white picket fence, manicured lawns. So I stripped the building back to its original mesh, recoloured the building, add in some custom surfaces too, and just try and make it all as nice a home as possible. So now I'm able to create my own characters. I thought it would be quite nice to give City Planner his own ploppable citizen too. Of course we'll need to use our imagination with this one. But perhaps Phil's attending to the barbecue and they have a bunch of friends and family around for a party. Oh man, this house is so cool. Such a nice family home dedicated to the legend City Planner. And I've also made a couple of decals for City Planner 2. Respect the Topography and CPP was here. They came out pretty cool. I wasn't sure at first, quite best how to integrate them into Venice. And they don't quite work with this home, but I still want to get them in there somehow. So we need to find a spot for these. Where shall we put them? How about the police station? that'd be pretty mad. Pretty funny. What do they look like on here? Oh man, that kind of looks pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. The LAPD obviously need a reminder to respect the topography. That's pretty cool, isn't it? It's a brave move, Phil. Brave move, but I like it. So next up, we have this awkward plot of land here. So I'm going to use this for a school. Actually, let's make it an elementary school and a high school. I'll spend a little time on these, make it look pretty good. Real Vision decals once again doing the heavy lifting, just to make this all look pretty unique. The dried grass look of the field really suits LA. So we're pretty far away from the beach here, and there's not much commercial or offices up this way, not many jobs. So I think this area would benefit from a small commercial area, where people can come and do some shopping, maybe a few medium residential blocks too. So I'm keeping the detailing pretty light in this area, but still putting in just enough that it does look at least interesting and a bit deliberate. So I found a couple of these assets here, and I think I'm going to try and merge them into a bit of a bigger indoor shopping centre. Perhaps it has some offices above it. I think they really fit all together as one. So this little space in between the two buildings is perfect for a little pedestrian walkway. I can add some storefronts and some basic detailing just to make it feel a bit more special. So in this next spot, I'm going to take some inspiration from real life Venice Beach. It looks like there's a little gated community here, and the buildings are all pretty colourful. It looks pretty cool, but you know, I am going to do it just a little differently, but just take inspiration from these. But these motel assets will be perfect. I love the little balconies and doors at the back of the building. You know, I don't want this area to be too run down, At the same time, I don't want it to be too nice either. So I'm not going to go too crazy with the stains and cracks, trash, stuff like that. But I think a few bits here and there, along with the Real Vision decals, just to help give it a good balance. This really feels pretty LA to me right now. It's exactly the right vibe, I think. And doing something completely different to the beach has been pretty fun. So, more urban kind of areas. It's been a nice change. So again, we're going to look at the area around the canals, and there's what looks like another gated community here, although very different in style to the previous one. All of the buildings look the same, and it's more condo style apartments. I absolutely love the lake in the middle of the ground too. I also see it has a private road going around the homes, so it is pretty unique. So let's build this in also. I think it'll provide a point of difference to the beach properties homes I'm using nearby. I'm going to use one of the signature buildings for this and just repeat them around in small sections. So I am using Plot the Globals mod, which does allow me to place multiple signature buildings. So once they're all in, I can add in the lake. And we're going to keep this all pretty simple, just adding in a pedestrian path around the lake, and a few boulders, rocks, and then a bit of foliage to decorate. So this next build, it is pretty cool. In this spot in real life is the Venice Library, and it's quite a unique building. It has this octagon kind of shaped tower out the front, with all these wooden beams for supports. So I wasn't going to bother with this building originally, but after seeing how close the library is to where I placed the high school and elementary school, I thought probably would make sense to have a library nearby. So to create the library, I do merge a few buildings together, such as some low commercial, the police station, and some of Jay's new assets. So the recolor mod does a lot of the heavy lifting here. It helps to blend all of these in together naturally. Now once again, Jay has created a few assets to help me with the beams and more unique aspects of the structure. So the tower and the beams, makes the building look super cool. I also use the road builder roads just to create a parking lot at the back. And then it is quite simple, I just detail it all up with some foliage, pedestrian walkways, hedges, and some of my new manicured lawns, which just helps to complete the look. Right, so we're on to what will be the last build of the episode, and we're going to add in a local baseball field to LA. So baseball fields are so common all over the US, and not quite in this location of Venice, but I think it would be a great spot for it, especially with a school nearby and so much residential. So in order to do this, a few weeks ago, I decided to create some baseball field decals, and they came out so cool, really happy with the final results. There's a few variations in the pack, such as ones with manicured lawns and different sand colours, So these are available right now on PDX Mods, so please go check them out. So I had previously seen a few YouTubers creating baseball fields using surfaces and net lanes and stuff like that, and it always looked, quite a bit of hassle to do, and I don't think they quite came out perfect. So this kind of inspired me then just to create these decals. They would be a better solution for a lot of people. And for my field, I am going to be keeping it very simple today. This is just a local field, and it shouldn't need too much work. In fact, it's not my build for the baseball field I'm most excited by. So prior to release of these assets, they have been featured as a part of a community challenge on my Discord. So participants had early access to the baseball fields and Manicured Grass assets, and we asked them to come up with a build. And I think you'll agree, the quality of the submissions are just insane. So we had 3 judges, myself, our mod team on Discord, so that's YenYang and Harbourmaster Jay, and then a community vote. I think it's important to say, this was very difficult to pick our favourite. Okay, so I think it's time to announce the winners, and alongside this I'm going to give a bit of feedback and my thoughts on each of the builds. So in 3rd place we have Dome. I think Dome did an absolutely stunning job on all of his decals, which made it feel really unique. Also want to point out his movie theatre, Dome created in the corner of the stadium. I like how he considered the usage of the stadium on non-game days. So I think maybe, and even by Dome's own admission, felt the build, at least the surroundings, felt a bit unfinished. But Dome did an absolutely incredible job, so congrats to him on picking up the 3rd place. So it was between Marcel and Generic Lemons for the top spot. So Marcel's entry for me, I did feel this was the most detailed. I felt in comparison to Generic Lemon's build, there was a bit more to check out around the stadium. His main entrance was absolutely stunning with the circular shapes, and he also built a really cool backstage area, and it's such a simple detail, but even this lawnmower on the field was a great touch. There's just so much to admire about this build, but perhaps the area around the stadium could have been built out a little more. Then Generic Lemon's build, I think this stood out as the best looking stadium as a whole. The colour of the roof, the irregular shape of the field, and even the facades of the stadium, they all look so good. And how he integrated the unique aspects of Fenway Park, such as Green Monster. I think Lemon's build also looked the most complete with the surrounding city, which really did frame the stadium well. But perhaps it was a little under-detailed in comparison to both Marcel's and Dome's entries. Okay, so time to announce the winner. So in 1st place, and the winner of our 1st Discord Community Challenge, is Marcel. So congrats Marcel on an absolutely incredible build, you are a deserved winner. So here you can see the final votes from each of the judges, and you can see Marcel did it by just the 1 point, and you can see how close it all was. But I think for me, Marcel did just enough to edge it with all the additional detailing he did. But it was amazing to see the creativity on show from all of the entries, so a huge thanks to everyone who got involved. And both Generic Lemons and Poplar Ponderosa have both done videos of their builds on YouTube, and I will link both of those in the description below. I also want to say a big thank you to Broman. So as part of the challenge, a lot of participants created baseball team logos, and they're also awesome. So not only did Broman do a really great build as part of the challenge, but he also kindly offered to release these logos on PDX Mods for you all to use in your baseball builds. So please go download that pack and say thanks to Broman. So I did originally plan to finish off today's episode with a live play city showcase, but once again I've just built far too much today to be able to do such a big showcase at the end of the episode. But instead, you might see another video pop up on YouTube very soon for a city showcase of what I've built in Venice so far. So I'm excited for you all to see that. It might not be on my channel. So I just want to finish up today by talking to you about future plans. So I think Los Angeles, it's going to be going on a short hiatus for a little while, if I'm being totally honest. So as you all know, the region packs have finally been released this week. And I really want to dive into some of them over the next couple of weeks and months and get to know these assets and see what I can do with them. So expect some regional builds to come up next on the channel. So the first one, the French pack, I am going to start working on from tomorrow. So potentially that'll be up next. I have something pretty fun in mind for that. I also have quite a big video coming up in around a month's time, so this will be episode 1 of a brand new series and something completely different to LA, so that'll be pretty exciting and something to look forward to. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and let me know what you thought down in the comments below. And I'll catch you all again in the next video.